Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Aranera Hesera GT in multiplayer. I won it just a couple days ago in its championship, and I'm sure many of you guys won it as well and would like to see how it performs. So, here you go. My rank is 1678 with a tuning of 0505, and in Pro Kits I have 5051. Now in a couple of my races I had not put the 1 exhaust on yet, so that's why my rank is 1675 in a couple of them. So now for our first race, which is on Patagonia against another Aranera Hesera GT. Now because the championship was fairly easy and it is such a good car that so many people went and got it, you will see a lot of them around this rank in multiplayer, and I should have knocked him down right then. I'm really not sure why I didn't. But yeah, you'll see a lot of them. Most of them will be between rank 1630 to 1690. There may be some up to 1695, but probably not many above that. So I have now passed that other Aranera Hesera GT by going up on that barrel roll, which actually gives you quite a good speed boost if you do it correctly. So based on the testing I've done so far in this car, it seems to drive quite a bit like the Aston Martin Vulcan. It is just slightly slower, and it does not drift as well, and it does not accelerate as well. It is basically a discount Vulcan, that's what I like to call it. It is a way for players newer to the game to get a car that can compete fairly well with Vulcans, but not a new king or anything that will mess up all the old players that have Vulcans. So I think it was a very good addition to the game. It gives newer players at least a chance to win in multiplayer around this rank. So we have beat that other Aranera Hesera GT. He was just slightly lower ranked at 1638, but he was triple boosted and I was single tanked. I will be running single tanked in all of these races because it is off season. I will make a second video about this car when the season starts. I was planning to wait to do a multiplayer video on this car at all until the new season came out, but I know so many of you guys really want to see how this car drives and performs in multiplayer. So while the competition in these races may not be quite as strong as they would be on season, like that Vulcan back there is actually an unboosted Vulcan, it still gives you a good idea of how this car drives, and some of the races there are some quite good competitors. So this car, because of its quite good drifting and handling abilities, Munich is a just fine track for it. It can take the turns with virtually no problem. While it may not drift as well as the Vulcan, it is still pretty good for comparison and still better than a whole lot of other cars. Its nitro efficiency is also quite good. Now one thing this car really has going for it, it has a very good turning radius, allowing it to take curves like this and the Sector 8 curve very well, as long as you drift punch properly, of course. Now other cars like the Vulcan have better drifting abilities, but you have to be a little more careful or else they will slam onto the inside, while other ones like the Homage, for example, may go more toward the outside because they don't have as good of drifting. So I beat a slightly lower ranked Vulcan, but a higher ranked MP431 and MP425. So now for our third race, which is on London against the same Vulcan, an MP425, and also a Chevy Camaro SS. So even when unboosted, the Vulcan starts up faster than this car when double boosted. Basically, nearly every trait about this car is nearly as good as the Vulcan's, but not quite as good. The acceleration, the speed, the drifting, pretty much everything. So I would say around this rank, the Hesera GT is second only to the Vulcan and probably the BMW Homage. Everything else, including MP425s and Camaros, it will be able to beat most of the time. So here's an interesting fact. This was the very first championship that I actually managed to complete all tours in, which means I got all trophies from it. Because it seemed to me that in most of the other championships, be it a Porsche one or an F1 car one, they would almost always have a few goals that were just very, very difficult to get, and that would consequentially make it so it was very difficult to completely finish it and get all trophies from it, which requires you to complete all secondary goals as well as the primary ones. I know the championship was able to have been won with the very standard multiplayer tune of 0500 5050, but because I do not like having 0.2 seconds left when I complete a goal, I upgraded my nitro to 5 as well, and that's what I won the car at, 0505 5050. And then I upgraded the exhaust 1 to be just slightly faster faster and accelerate slightly faster than all the other 1675 ones. That's a little trick if you want to be faster than most other Haceras that are just tuned to 1675. So someone was catching up to me throughout this race. It was a nearly equally ranked double-boosted Camaro SS. So even though Camaros are not very popular around this rank, this car will generally still be able to beat them on most tracks, even on 2 laps if you ever see one. So in this race, I found the same Aranera Hacera GT that I played in the first race on Patagonia, Lewis M. Remember him? So I was thinking, okay, well, this should be fairly easy to catch up to him because he was lower ranked. But I started to see that I was not actually catching up to him at all. He was just as fast as me, pretty much, and maybe a little bit faster. He had upgraded in between races, so I was a little bit fooled because of that. As you will see at the end of the race, he had now upgraded to 1691, nearly 60 ranks higher than he was before. That would be an interesting tactic. If there's someone in a race that consistently beats you, and then you upgrade, and they come in the race and think, oh, I'm just going to beat him like I have all the times before, and they don't, that could be for a very interesting and very surprising race for him. That could have been what this guy did because he lost to me before, but of course I have no way to know. He could have just upgraded because he wanted to reach the 12th mastery, which by the way gives 2 champion kit boxes, or the equivalent of 60 cards. And I have actually recorded me opening 5 champion kit boxes, 3 from this car and 2 from the 650S, and I'm planning to make a video about that sometime in the near future. So this guy, because he is slightly higher ranked than me, and a good driver as well, is constantly pulling just ever so slightly ahead of me. Now, on the first lap, I did not take the shortcut up above, so I thought this time I would try that, and perhaps I would be able to pass him because of that, but then I learned the shortcut does not actually shortcut as much as you might think it does. It is definitely a shorter route, however, it causes you to lose speed going up in the air if you don't do it just right. And so, in this case, it didn't really do anything. And so he managed to beat me. He was triple boosted as well. Oh, and to the guy who constantly requests me to make a video about the Pagani Zonda R, well, here's why I'm not. It is just very, very bad in multiplayer. So I came up against Lewis M again, this time on Iceland, and I was thinking, okay, this is going to really badly. He is triple boosted, and I am single tank. He is higher ranked than me. And this is on a track that has very little nitro, so extra tanks will come in very handy. So I was thinking, okay, well I have pretty much no chance, but of course I'll still play the race and try to beat him to see if I can. So here I caught up to him a little bit because he went high on that barrel roll there. I'm not even sure if he barrel rolled or anything. So around this corner over to the right is the place where you can try to make that little shortcut that was in the Movember Cup with the F-150, which I did make a video about. But he failed the shortcut. I'm not sure why he would have gone that way if he wasn't going to attempt the shortcut, so yeah, that allowed me to get quite far ahead of him. Never, never, never attempt that shortcut in multiplayer. If you're in a very fast car, it will probably only work about 10% of the time or less without wrecking, and if you're in a slow car, the risk is still fairly great, so I would never recommend doing that. So the next lap passed without any problem, and I was coming up to the cave again for the second lap. He was still quite far behind me, but then the infamous guardrail of death slammed me into the opposite wall and caused me to lose all of my speed, and so this guy nearly landed on top of me. It looked like he was only about an inch away from knockdowning me. It was very, very close. That cave is just one of the many reasons why Iceland is my least favorite track in the game and one of my least favorite tracks for multiplayer. I would pretty much pick almost anything else over Iceland. But thankfully, that little mishap did not cause him to get ahead, and he was just falling back in this section. He may have run out of nitro, I'm really not sure, so I managed to beat him. The moral of this story is, don't get cocky and try to take the shortcut in multiplayer. Another moral is, don't pick Iceland in multiplayer at all. So now for our final race, which is on Alps against the same Vulcan as we saw earlier, Oleg R, and a Trion Nemesis. So the Trion Nemesis is not very good in multiplayer unless you can max pro it, or at least nearly max pro it, because as you can see here, this one is just no match for my speed. A little while back, I made a video about the Trion Nemesis at 7 1780 rank, which mine is still at now, but I believe I may have enough forced induction engines to max pro it. So whenever I max pro my Trion Nemesis, which may take a little while because of all the parts and money and all that stuff it needs, I will be making another video about that. So I've said a lot of things about this car already, but I would like to say, for anyone wondering if it's worth it, yes. It is very worth it, because the championship was fairly easy, and if you don't have the Vulcan or Homage, or the likes of those cars, it will give you a chance to be very competitive against them. So I would definitely recommend tuning this car to around this rank, and seeing what you can do. Thank you all for watching, please like the video if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 videos, and I will see you later. Goodbye.